What's up, fellas? My name is Tucker. In today's video, we're once going to be talking about some NBA trade rumors. In this one, the idea that the Minnesota Timberwolves see D'Angelo Russell as an untouchable and untradeable focal point asset of their roster. This has a lot of implications as relates to possible Ben Simmons trades, the Timberwolves roster as a whole, and a Timberwolves roster, by the way, that actually looks pretty promising for next season, considering how their season ended, considering what their new head coach did towards the end of the year last year. This is an interesting team for next year, and that's why it's so critical to talk about this idea of D'Angelo Russell as an untouchable player on the Timberwolves roster. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. So let's go and do it. Okay, so the rumor itself, the report itself is that Minnesota sees D'Angelo Russell as a focal point of their roster, a key part, a critical part moving forward, a guy that they are not trading, they are not moving. And that makes total sense initially, right? I mean, it's a guy that they traded significant value to go out and get. It's a guy that has a great relationship with Karl-Anthony Towns. And a couple years ago, made an all-star appearance. They traded away Wiggins. They traded away, draft capital to be able to bring in D'Angelo Russell, and it's supposed to create this really nice combination between him in the backcourt, Karl-Anthony Towns in the front court, and he's being paid a significant amount of money. Like I said, made an all-star appearance a couple years ago. Makes total sense that D'Angelo Russell would be a critical part of this roster moving forward and that they would not look to trade him. However, prior to the draft lottery, I was speculating that if the Timberwolves did end up somehow keeping their pick, land in the top three, it looks like maybe they would end up with possibly Cade Cunningham with the first pick, or maybe one of the Jalen's with the second or the third pick, then they would be a little bit too guard heavy. Anthony Edwards the year before, whoever they got in that draft, D'Lo, Malik Beasley is a good scorer, and they were already looking at a situation where maybe D'Angelo Russell would be looking for a different team. And that was not only interesting just in and of itself, but then as it relates to a possible Ben Simmons trade, because we talked about this earlier in the week. I love the idea of Ben Simmons in Minnesota. I love the idea of that fit, of how he fits within that timeline, of the players that they have around him, specifically with Karl-Anthony Towns' fit in the front court, and D'Angelo Russell being maybe not exactly the player that you want if you're Philly, but the exact kind of player that you would be looking for to spread out the talent on that roster from the front court to the back court. Where D'Angelo Russell is a good playmaker. He's a guy that can score for you. He can shoot. He can play on or off the ball. He can do a lot of really good things for you. And if you're Philadelphia, that's not a bad trade partner to take a look at is Minnesota. However, that bubble got kind of burst for me when I saw this report that D'Angelo Russell is apparently untouchable / untradeable. Now, why would that be? Apart from the value that they gave up for D'Angelo Russell, why would he be untradeable? Well, most people are speculating, and this has been put in the comment section of my videos a couple of times here, D'Angelo Russell and Karl-Anthony Towns are essentially a package deal. Like, as long as Karl-Anthony Towns is happy in Minnesota, D'Angelo Russell is going to stay, and he's going to be there because they have a really good relationship. They're really good friends, and people have also said that if the Suns didn't play well this year, that Devin Booker would be a target of theirs because these guys are, apparently really close, and you want to make sure that you keep Karl-Anthony Towns happy. And that was a lot of the motivation behind not only the Warriors trade that brought D'Angelo Russell to Minnesota, but remember, that offseason, before D'Lo ended up going to Golden State and KD went to Brooklyn, Minnesota was trying to find ways to move salary to just sign D'Angelo Russell outright. So this is a guy that they have actively been trying to grab and add to their roster for a while now. And now that they have him, they're not just going to give up a guy that is as young as he is, and yes, is on a big contract, but made an all-star appearance a couple years ago and is, by all accounts, a pretty talented perimeter player. I have given my opinion on D'Angelo Russell in the past that I just don't think that he's worth the money that he's on. I didn't want to bring him back when he was supposed to kind of leave the Nets in the first place. I didn't want to bring him back on this kind of money that he's on right now. And I think especially with a position in the NBA that is as saturated as the point guard position is, paying D'Angelo Russell $34 million to be a top, 16, top 15 point guard in the league is not fantastic value for me. Now, having said that, I don't hate the idea of keeping him in Minnesota for a couple of different reasons, because unless it's for Ben Simmons, I don't know that there's a ton of value out there. I think you kind of have to think about the situation those two players are both in. I think both their values have kind of been deflated a little bit over the last couple of years. D'Lo was hurt a lot this year. Ben Simmons had his struggles in the playoffs, so both those guys' values have kind of deflated. They both kind of work with the opposite roster, but apart from that trade scenario, I don't think there's a ton of value out there for D'Angelo Russell. I don't know that there are a lot of teams that are incredibly excited about bringing him in, and so it's probably best to try and grow and develop and cultivate something here with D'Angelo Russell in Minnesota. But the reason I bring up all of this is because when you look at this Minnesota roster, it is very, very intriguing for next season, with or without Ben Simmons, because as you look at how they started to play down the stretch last year, once guys started to come back and be healthy, and D'Lo was scoring and facilitating well in a way that wasn't overbearing, in a way that he kind of chose his spots really well. We know the talent level of Karl-Anthony Towns. Anthony Edwards had a really good rookie season. Whatever Malik Beasley has going on in his life, hopefully he's on the court. And he's a very, very good player as well. And the one spot they're kind of missing is that 4 spot. Someone that can guard, someone that can facilitate, someone that isn't going to be able to shoot, which, Ben Simmons. But you can see kind of where the fit is there, right? But even without Ben Simmons, this is a talented roster. It's one of the reasons why I thought it would be pretty exciting if they did end up with Cade Cunningham. It's one of the reasons why I think they could be pretty dangerous next year. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be the next coming of the Phoenix Suns and make the finals, but by all accounts, their new coach towards the end of the year not only kind of tapped into something with this roster, really got them motivated and playing well, but also is reportedly, seemingly, one of the better offensive minds in the entire league, and someone that is going to be able to get this team to score, and there's certainly plenty of scoring and perimeter talent. Now, can they guard well enough? I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, talent, at least offensively, should not be an issue for this group. And they kind of have the future draft pick being owed to Golden State. That is no longer over their shoulder, over their head. So they push that away as well. So from a roster building standpoint, everything is kind of out in front of them. If for some reason down the road they do want to possibly trade away D'Angelo Russell, that's an option. If a good Malik Beasley trade offer comes up, that's an option. If they look at Philly and they say, hey, we'll give you Malik Beasley and Rubio and whatever else, give us Ben Simmons, maybe that's an option for them. I don't know why Philly would be excited about Ricky Rubio as their backcourt solution here, but still. And then even far down the road, if Anthony Edwards, if he just becomes the second coming of Andrew Wiggins, they can move him. But all of this, of course, is trying to avoid the disaster, the doomsday scenario, which is Karl-Anthony Towns asking out of Minnesota. If he becomes unhappy and if he says, I don't want to be here anymore, we're coming up on kind of that timeline where once you've been in the league 6, 7, 8, 9 years, then you start to ask out, then you start to want to go somewhere else. And yeah, you're making a ton of money, but you have the opportunity to kind of push yourself in a certain direction, as your contract kind of expires. That's the thing that they're trying to avoid at all costs, right? They want to make sure Anthony Edwards develops. They want to make sure D'Angelo Russell is there and being Karl-Anthony Towns' buddy. They want to make sure Malik Beasley continues to develop. And they have invested heavily from a financial standpoint in those 3 players. And then, of course, from a draft pick standpoint, in Anthony Edwards. And if they can just continue to hold that off, I do think there's a significant amount of talent here. But as we've learned time after time after time, if the NBA has taught us anything over the last 10 years, it is that you can never be too comfortable when it comes to your players possibly asking out and wanting to go to a new situation, especially when you're someone like Karl-Anthony Towns that has had exactly one really good team success season in the entirety of his NBA career, and that just could possibly just get tired of being in Minnesota at a certain point, and just decide, hey, I want to be the next guy in LA, or I want to be the next guy in New York, or I want to go this way, I want to go that way. And that's the thing that they're trying to avoid. So as of right now, D'Angelo Russell apparently is untouchable, untradeable. I do believe this one. I don't think that there's any kind of smokescreen here where they're like trying to raise the value of D'Angelo Russell by saying that he's untouchable or untradeable. There's just too many things pointing to that being exactly correct, with the friendship with Karl-Anthony Towns, with the assets they gave up to acquire him, and not having a clear replacement for him. Like I said, if they had drafted Cade Cunningham, I think it would have been different, or had the opportunity to draft Cade Cunningham. But not having a clear replacement for D'Angelo Russell, you can't, even with some of the issues I do have with D'Lo, and you don't know if him and Anthony Edwards are going to fit, you can't just trade away a guy like that without having a plan to replace that level of perimeter creation. Even if you're like me and you don't love D'Angelo Russell as a player, you have to have a plan for trading away a perimeter creator that had as much offensive responsibility as D'Lo did down the stretch at the end of last year. So essentially, at the end of the day, I believe this rumor. I think it makes at least a good amount of sense. I'm a little bit disappointed because my ideal situation for Minnesota this offseason would have been they get Cade, the Ben Simmons D'Lo thing swaps, and then they're looking at a lineup of Cade, Anthony Edwards, Malik Beasley, Ben Simmons, Karl-Anthony Towns. And then D'Lo's in Philly doing whatever. That sounded really cool and interesting to me, but hey, can't all get what we want. I still think that this is a Minnesota team to keep an eye on for next year. I feel like we've said that for 5 and 6 years, but I think that they might have finally found their coach. And if everybody can stay healthy and Anthony Edwards can continue to grow and develop off of what was a really promising rookie season, there's something to keep an eye on in Minnesota. I'll put it that way. We cool with that? Okay. That is going to be the end of today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like rating on it. Consider subscribing to the channel for more NBA content every single day. And check out more videos from me. The box is on screen as well. As I said in the beginning, my name is Tucker. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. And I will see you all next time.